G'day and welcome to part 2 of the Private Decentralized Militia mini-series inside of the bigger Utopian Realism series. This is part 2 looking at the militia. The last video we went over private decentralized militia, the pros and cons of monopolized military versus private militia, and today we'll be looking at rank, leadership and organization. So if you haven't seen that first video, go back and watch that. Rank, leadership and organization inside of a private militia, inside of utopian realism, a civilization's model based upon reason. Men and women wishing to join a formal militia for defense against external and internal threats, so tyranny, internal threat, and invasion, external threat, although in utopian realism there isn't going to be any tyranny because there's no government. Regardless, it requires a clear rank and leadership system, a militia. Ranks are earned through demonstrated skills and peer voting, emphasizing a bottom-up approach rather than a traditional top-down hierarchy. The militia is an organization which prepares for the worst-case scenario, invasion. To respond to threats effectively, the militia needs to have the ability to unite under a command hierarchy, because leadership is necessary to coordinate nationwide defense effectively by positioning troops where they're most needed and ensuring they're supplied. It's best not to wait until the last moment to decide a leadership structure. That's why an organized militia has a structured ranking system and practices in large-scale war games multiple times per year. The private militia cooperates and works together more efficiently than even centralized militaries because it has so much practice at the local base level. For a command hierarchy to be effective, it needs to be objective. For militiamen and women to earn the right to gain rank or vote for others, they need to complete basic training that covers fundamentals like morality, law, and then essential combat skills. Only having combat skills without morality and law ends up creating dystopia. Just look at every single country in the world where the military don't know morality and law, and we have dystopia of varying degrees. The militia ranking works as a system of democratic leadership. Privates vote for their corporals, corporals vote for their sergeants, and they vote for their lieutenants. I was going to say lieutenants, that's what we say in Australia. Lieutenants, lieutenants, same, so on and so forth. The rank below is responsible for the election of the rank above. This ensures that only those who are respected, capable, and deserve the rank achieve positions of power. If you have no familiarity with the military, if you've never been inside the army or any military division, branch, you'd think, well, wouldn't it be like that already, that people who are competent gain rank and position of power? And I tell you now, from my experience inside the Australian Army, absolutely not. It's the inverse. It's the total inverse. The less you know, the less initiative, the less competency you have, the higher you get ranked. It is monstrous, to put it very politely. If leaders perform poorly, the ranks below can call for a revote any time and elect a new leader, sergeant, general, via clear processes of conflict resolution. Today, the ranks above select the ranks below, not on merit, but obedience. Members that cause issues, such as disobeying competent commands or acting disrespectfully, can be evicted by their peers from the militia. This ensures that uncooperative soldiers don't affect the cohesiveness of units. Discipline and objective standards of performance are essential to a powerful fighting force and must be intelligently maintained. Men and women have the right to bear arms and train whenever and however often they like. They don't have to join the militia and be part of the ranking system if they don't wish. And they don't have to go to a gun range every so often. Like I was doing some research, Norway, Finland, some Scandinavian countries, you have to go every so often to a shooting range to be able to keep your gun. And I think that's just ridiculous. If you don't want to go to a shooting range, you don't have to. If you want to, feel free. Because ultimately, that's the point of having guns. That's why you have an individual right to own and bear arms, is so whenever people tell you to do things, whenever anyone is trying to initiate force against you, then you use your guns against them because they are evil. Only evil people initiate violence and force against others, or children. The children have an excuse because they're children. If you're above the age of 18 and you're initiating physical force, you are evil, and those guns need to be used against you, whoever you is. Those who do join the ranked militia are free to leave any time. There's no service duty or obligation. Utopian realism is built upon the foundation of freedom and understands that the most powerful defense force is the one comprised of individuals who willingly want to be there. Instead of separating divisions into commissioned officers and non-commissioned officers, which is common today, the separation is slightly different and is organized via tactical and strategic. I think that just sounds better and it's more accurate. Tactical soldiers are on the ground executing operations physically. Strategic soldiers are planning, organizing logistics, and provide bird's eye view coordination. Having these two divisions ensures synchronization between mind and body, intellect and physicality, planning and execution. Local bases form alliances with other bases who share the same values. These alliances allow a decentralized militia to operate as a centralized military if necessary. This gives the militia more flexibility and increases responsiveness and initiative by having the best of both worlds. The militia can train at the local, decentralized level without needing direction from a central command, and they can train at the individual level as well. They can also participate in larger war games with a more centralized command. This allows militia to be better equipped at fighting independently at the local level and a national level. This dual sword approach increases effectiveness and makes the militia much more powerful than a traditional, centralized only, monopolized military. The ranking works by having multiple levels of leadership at the local base level, led by a base commander, then an area commander, state commander, and finally a nation commander. Nothing too special needs to happen there, that's pretty standard. The power these ranks have is only over the volunteers of this hierarchy to coordinate training and battle effectively. Their authority does not extend past this, and their duties are primarily to lead war games and to direct the Allied militia in defensive operations against foreign invasion. So a war game is like a big scenario where you have multiple military branches. You have Army, Navy, Air Force, if you have Marines in that country as well, and you all coordinate together with the different roles and you play war. It's like playing a computer game of Age of Empires, but in real life, first person. Well, that's if you're tactical. If you're strategic, if you're the general and intelligence and logistics and supply, then you're doing strategic operations and you're more bird's eye Age of Empires, whereas, the tactical people are more Call of Duty or Battlefield on the ground playing the war game. Because if you don't practice war and then a real war happens, then it's the first time you're doing it. Whoever has the better training, the more practice and experience is going to win. So you must have effective war games, which it's so embarrassing to say. Australia, I think you know at this point, if you were to ask me, well, in Australia, did you do this? Just don't ask me, okay? Don't ask me. If some militia groups disagree with the orders of the elected general of an aligned force, they can simply separate and go their own way. Example, a general of 90% of the theoretical Australian militia orders a defense against China, just using a random country here, by positioning most of the troops to the northern border of the country. Typo, needs an N on the end of northern, how terrible. Militia groups in the south see the prudence to this, but unwise to leave the south so undefended. So, they reject the general's commands and only send half their forces north instead of all of them. They believe it a better strategy to leave a contingent of troops in Perth and Adelaide to defend against potential incursions from the south. In a private, decentralized militia system, it's possible to disagree with head command. Oh, wow. You're not just going to get shot in the head or booted out straight away because you have a disagreement? No. The ranking structure is not a supreme authority which must be obeyed or else met with punishment. Like the Empire, if you don't do what Darth Vader says, he's going to force choke you to death. Or in the current militaries, you just die of boredom, of inaction. You just get enough control, bring it back. It's a system of leaders elected on merit, whom the rank below willingly follows out of inspiration and respect, not fear. The general in charge should be the one with the best strategic genius, so disagreement will be uncommon, but of course possible. There are no desertion laws. If some militiamen are overcome with cowardice and wish to flee from the battle, let them, lest they interfere with the morale and organization of the courageous. Frequent cross-training between roles in and across the military branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, is crucial for effective warfare. Example, the infantry should be training with the artillery and the cavalry and the armoured. Again, I dare you ask me, hey, James, when you were in infantry for 3 years in the Australian Army, did you do cross-training? I'm not going to answer. No comment. No comment. The more collaborative training between roles, bases, branches, states, and even nations, the better. We had heaps of American Marines on the base, and I just could not believe that we weren't training with them. One time we socialized with them, and I wasn't a big drinker, but other people were just getting drunk together. There was no actual training. It was so bad, so bad. This familiarity of real-world preparatory training is critical to ensuring, in the event of war, militia aren't entering engagement completely devoid of cross-collaborative experience. It's so simple. Really, I consider myself an amateur at the art of war, and the professionals in this Australian Army, bunch of toy soldiers, that's pushing, bunch of Barbie dolls, had no idea how to have effective training. All they knew how to do was steal from the public and waste money and force people to commit suicide. In war, Army, Marines, Air Force and Navy must typically, well, most of the time, they're going to have to work together to succeed. So your training must include that. Without adequate prior training, defeat becomes much more likely. But with it, victory is next to inevitable. Oh, so you can see my anger, my rage, my passion there, because, look, I haven't spent much time studying this. And this just goes to show how easy most of this stuff is. Yet, our most esteemed leaders cannot do this. So the question is why? Is it because they cannot or choose not to? I think it's probably a combination of both. Because when you break it down, this stuff's actually quite simple. So that's the end of this video. In the next one, we'll be looking at weapons and defense against threats, and that will be all for militia. Oh, that's a pretty big chapter. And then I've got a couple of videos at the bottom looking at Swiss culture with their guns and an American kind of debunking this documentary and just pointing out some of the bullshit points, but it's recommended to watch both. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you in the next video.